Hey, it's Zim, and should you play Torchlight 3? Now, this game has been out for a little while now, and before that it was in several different stages. This game originally started out as an idea of an MMO ARPG, which then didn't really follow through well with a lot of people, went through a lot of development problems, and then eventually entered into a pure isometric ARPG game. I got to playtest this game, and it was marred by several bugs. It often just didn't feel right, and so I never picked it up when the game officially came out. Now, you can get this game for $40 normally, but it is currently on sale for the Steam sale at $14.99, which they also recently patched in a brand new class, which got me excited. A new class. Maybe they keep working on the game. It's probably got to be in a better state than it was when I played in the betas. And while that's true, the game's still not in the best of positions. And worse yet, you find out through doing some research for this video that they no longer are working on it, or at least not the original team. It seems the original team has now moved on to a different project, and the game has been passed on to a different team. Now, does that mean the game's not going to get any more development? Not necessarily, but usually when that happens, it's a good sign that we probably won't see too much more development for Torchlight. As you can see, the menu keeps trying to switch back to my controller, which is plugged in. It is a notable problem right from the get-go, is it will keep trying to switch back to the controller, even though the controller is not being moved or touched at all. As long as one is plugged in, it will keep trying to fight with you on these menus. We're going to go and jump right in. And here we have just one of my characters. Like I said, I played a lot during the beta, and as you can see, it switched right back to controller, even though I've been activating things with my mouse. Just a frustration. But like I said, I've played a ton during the beta, and recently repicked it up, and have found just different issues that I have problems with this. Now, as you can see, I'm level 8, just by up in the corner here, as it's trying to fight with the controller right away. Infuriating. And that's my biggest problem with this game, honestly, is the progression. This game has a ton of very slow progression. I'm about 2.5 hours in, maybe 3, and I'm just now level 8. Compared to any other action RPG, you would 3 hours in, you should be 15, 20, higher, depending on like how well you know the game. In 3 hours, I can get a Diablo character all the way to cap. It's so slow. This game is very slow, and I feel like it's a leftover remnant of when they were trying to make this an MMO, so they never really retuned the XP, and so everything just feels slow in progression. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in into the world, and as you can see, it's got that familiar Torchlight style, and honestly, that's the most praise I can give this game, is like the world itself, the art style, very unique. They care about like the world that they built and the art. Everything feels good. Everything's voice acted. It's great. Unfortunately, that just doesn't translate to all the efforts they put into the gameplay, which seem to be lacking. Go ahead and jump to one of these maps here. So, just like in any action RPG, you have skills in the bottom, you have a health pool. I think one of my problems with this is also the health asset feels very small. So as we can see, clear out some mobs here. So as you can see, like the health just feels very small, feels very unimportant. It doesn't draw your eyes to it. We also have resources. That's what these gold doubloons are. Problem with this new class is their resources doubloons, which is great, but the doubloons are exactly like the gold already in the world. Now, you're a ghost pirate captain, right? You're undead, you're otherworldly, and the doubloons could have been colored otherworldly, like ghost doubloons, like haunted or cursed. That would make sense, and it would make the doubloons pop out more compared to just normal gold. Because when you open treasure chests, it'll give you gold, and it'll give me currency for my resource, the doubloons. So I wish they would have done something about the art asset, but it's like they just didn't think about that, which is often the problem with this game, is there's a lot of ideas they could have implemented, but it feels like they just didn't think about it or didn't want to put the effort into. Like, these cannons here are interactables found throughout the entire first world, but they don't actually do anything. They don't give you anything. They just are something that you can touch and it fires. Once again, probably a remnant from when it was an MMO. Exploration in this game is also punished, which is weird. Now, granted, in a lot of action RPGs, you find yourself, especially after you've played it more than once, you find yourself often not wanting to explore. You're just trying to grind to get to this new season end game or whatever that may be. But when you first play an action RPG, or at least when I first play an action RPG, I want to explore more and see what the world is hiding and having to offer. However, there are certain dungeons throughout the world, and in these dungeons, they're all essentially tied to a quest. And so what will happen is, if I discover one of these dungeons, you can't go there unless you have the quest, so it locks you out. So then, like, if you're exploring the world, you feel like you're being punished because you can't actually go into these things that you're finding. And so what will happen is you'll have to re-grind through that area once you get that quest so you can go into that dungeon, because these mobs will respawn when you leave maps. Not always, it seems, but sometimes. Now, tab key will open up your map. Tab key, again, completely deletes the map, so you don't have it in your corner anymore. That doesn't make sense. You always want a mini-map in an action RPG, so I don't know why the feature is, 1, it's in the corner, 2, it's now center so you can see it better, and 3, it just goes away. The 3 just doesn't need to be there. I'd rather just default back to the corner, so I'm not constantly like forgetting that my map's not up and then being like, where am I? And then trying to like put up a map as I'm being attacked. Mob variety is pretty good, although these zones are kind of dominated by their mobs. So goblins are basically what you're fighting in the first zone. Animation's fine, the art's fine, but you also fight like void creatures and stuff like that throughout the entire game. One of the things I do have a problem with the Void is there are these like phase beasts, and phase beasts, when they die, will open up a portal and send you to a random boss that you can fight for additional treasure and loot. That's cool. No problem with that one. My problem actually is that it happens during combat, and so you could be clicking on an enemy, like the phase beast, it dies, and then the click just registers you and teleports you in the middle of a fight through the portal, and you don't know what happened. You're like, where am I? What did I get kicked? And then you realize, oh, I've been sucked into this boss fight. And so it's like, it disrupts the flow of the game. I wish the portals had like a delay. But it's a kind of cool, unique mechanic, I guess. Just kill some more mobs here. Combat in this game is okay, but because all of your skills are tied to leveling, obviously. And because leveling is slow in this game, you'll find that you have very few skills for, like I said, for 3 hours now, and I barely have 4 skills plus my auto attack, right? Skill trees are unique to every character, plus you get a relic that you can choose to start with. These relics will also have different abilities. As you level up, you can choose to put points into them, just like anything else. As you can see, we have put 9 skill points out of a total of 70 eventually, and we have different skill trees to put them in. Now, throughout beta testing and even in this game, you find yourself with a lack of diversity. One of the great things about like Diablo or Path of Exile is the plethora of skills available and interesting dynamics. That is not the case in this game. It feels very shallow. The skill trees are very shallow is the best way of putting it, which is a shame. You also have the Legendarium. This is essentially giving you additional abilities by finding legendary items in the game. The more you find, you can choose to equip, and as you can see, you eventually get 3 different slots to add different abilities. Now, my problem with this is also that they give you legendaries very quickly. I think I've had well over 7 or 8 in the 3 hours, and I feel like you don't have that feel of earning it. No, there's no progression towards it. It's just you're just handed to it, and so the meaning of these legendaries feels lesser. Like the staff I'm holding currently is a legendary item, and I equipped it not because it's maybe great for my class or something interesting, but it's just a better stat stick, right? Not saying that some of these legendary abilities don't have some cool things going for them, because some of them do, but like you never feel that interested in them at all. You also have contracts. These are renown systems, essentially. These contracts will just give you a bunch of cosmetic rewards for the most part. It's kind of a bummer. And with this, you can also switch contracts. So once you unlock everything, you can move on to different contracts to unlock more collectibles. I mean, it's okay, but once again, it's all just cosmetic stuff that ultimately doesn't matter and goes to your fort. Now, the fort is something that they really kind of pushed hard as like building something up. I generally like the idea of that. I think it's a really cool idea. I mean, imagine a Diablo where you're restoring the town, and so you get to like shape and design it and bring people back in. I mean, Tainted Grail kind of played with this idea in the card game, where like you're finding people in the world and bringing them back, but that just gave you vendors. It'd be really cool if you had some really interesting options of like bringing certain people back that give you certain bonuses or access to different things that you wouldn't normally have, and you have to make choices between what you're bringing back and what you don't bring back. I think that'd be a really cool idea. Unfortunately, that's obviously not what we do here, and we'll go ahead and go to our fort now. And in the fort, it's just kind of a bunch of customizable cosmetics. It allows you to respec your class over here. There's a chest to keep all your items, so it's essentially your central hub, kind of. You can dye and change your gear. Now, this is another problem, is it will show you all the gear, which is fine. But as you can see, there's not much variant in what gear looks like, which is a real bummer. Like, some of the greatest things about action RPGs is making your character look unique, look really cool and awesome. It's definitely something I look forward to in a lot of action RPGs, is like watching my character go from rags to awesome dread plate armor that has an aura effect that, you know, his, you know, what started as a rusty two-handed sword is now a giant cleaver made out of demon bones. Like, these really cool things, and unfortunately, like, depending on the weapon especially, or the pieces, like, this is the newest class, right? And so capes are specific to this character. And as you can see, there's not a ton of cape choices. Now, that's a bummer. That's a real bummer. Like, what am I excited about? If we look at, like, Ancient Amber Cape and Arc Power Cape, they look the same on here. Which means when I find them, I'm guessing they're just a slight color variant, right? So that's a bummer. It's not interesting. Same with legs. Look how many leg choices I'm going to have. It's not a ton. And a lot of these are recolors. So, like, this game just doesn't have a lot of gear that you're going to be looking forward to getting, and that's a real bummer. Managing all this customization is actually great. You can definitely tell they put a lot of development time into customizing this and ease of use, so I kind of appreciate that. But once again, because it's all cosmetics, because a lot of this stuff will give you some passive stat bonus, like the luck sapling will give you some luck, and there's a little bit of other things that give you passes, but none of them really feel like they impact the game at all. None of them really feel very interesting, and like, you often don't have choices. It's like, go and just, oh, here's the luck sapling, now go plant it. Cool, now you can offer to gear up to get better drop rates. Like, it's just not interesting nor fun. And I think that's ultimately this game's problem, is everything takes too long and things are boring. And that's not great for an action RPG. Now, you also have to consider, like, its main competition. Diablo 3 is a phenomenal game, especially in the condition it finally reached. Path of Exile, free to play, also a phenomenal game. I'm not the biggest fan of Path of Exile, but it's still a solid game. You can look at some of the more traditional ones, like Grim Dawn. Grim Dawn's a phenomenal one. Titan Quest, which Grim Dawn borrows very heavily from its systems. Titan Quest is still a solid action RPG. Last Epoch is a amazing one in early access currently that I plan on doing a video on later. There are so many great action RPGs out there available to you, both pay or free to play. And I mean, we also have Lost Ark coming out, which actually did realize the action RPG meets MMO, and I believe Lost Ark is technically free to play as well once that gets brought over to us. So, is this game worth $40? No, absolutely not. And it's on Steam Summer Sale, and so it's $15. Now, is the game worth $15? I would have said yes before I did my research, seeing that they introduced a new class for free and saying, oh, they're still working on this game and they're going to keep improving it, then yeah, there would definitely be hope. And so, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, buy it right now. Definitely buy it. However, that's unfortunately not what seems to be the case. It's on a different development team, and I'm guessing that development team's a skeleton crew just to make sure things slightly run smoothly. Now, if I'm wrong, that's fine. But are you willing to take that bet and put down $15 for a game that is okay, slightly boring for an action RPG when there are already so many great ones you could play instead? I don't know. My ultimate thing is, should you play Torchlight 3? And my answer is no. I think if you're looking for an action RPG, there are some amazing choices out there that you can pick up. And even if you're bored to tears with those, I don't think you're going to find a ton of excitement in this game. So let me know in the comments below what you guys feel like Torchlight 3 is for you. If it's interested you, if you played it and maybe you agree it's boring or it feels like it drags too slow. And let me know what your favorite action RPG is, because I love action RPGs and I'm always looking for new ones as well. But I've played most of them, so... Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you later.